Welcome to Dingoes 8 My Podcast. This episode we're talking about Buffy the Vampire Slayer, episode entitled Nightmares. I'm Paul.
I'm Dave.
And Justin.
Justin, we're going to switch things up.
Okay.
Why don't you explain the plot of this episode?
Okay, so apparently nightmares are becoming reality because some kid got yelled at by a coach that everything was his fault, and apparently he went into a coma or something.
Well, because reasons, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, so anyway, nightmares are becoming reality. Spiders are coming out of, someone's textbooks. Apparently Buffy failed a test that she had not studied for some reason. And I kind of skipped a bit, but who cares?
You skipped about 60% of the episode, but
Nah.
it's a good thing I brought a plot summary.
Nah.
Well, at least I kind of know what kind of happens.
You got the bullet points.
Yeah.
The episode begins with Buffy having a nightmare about going to the Master's lair and being choked by him. Buffy's mother Joyce shakes her awake as Buffy wakes up, screaming no as Joyce says, yes, you have to go to school.
Oh, that's not what she's dreaming about. Well, not having a nightmare about.
Buffy...
About a vampire master.
Buffy remembers that she is excited to be spending the coming weekend with her father. Buffy confides to Willow that she thinks she might have something to do with her parents' divorce. In a class, when the teacher asks Wendell to read from the textbook, tarantulas crawl out of it, something that we've seen in the title sequence already. And we will see until, I think, the end of the series.
Nah.
Buffy sees a boy standing in the doorway saying that he is sorry. Why did I want to say story? Okay, brain. The next day, as the Master explains to Colin, the Anointed One, how wonderful he finds fear, Buffy is nervous about being picked up by her father after school, and her mother calms her down. At school, Willow and Xander are worried about the spiders and want to talk to Giles about it. Giles mutters that he got lost, seemingly in the stacks of books. Giles has no information on the spiders, so the gang goes to talk to Wendell, who explains that he has been having recurring spider nightmares. In the meantime, Cordelia lets Buffy know about a history test that Buffy has not studied for. Buffy has a hard time even finding the class, and the test is over in what feels like a moment. Buffy is not even filled in her name. She once again sees the same boy outside the classroom. As break time begins, a girl named Laura takes a smoking break in the basement. An ugly man comes out of the shadows and says Lucky 19 before assaulting her. Later, Buffy and Giles interview Laura in the hospital where they hear about Lucky 19. They also find the young boy from before, Billy, in coma due to a similar attack. More nightmarish instances start to occur, starting with Xander finding all of his clothes have vanished and he is naked in his classroom.
Yeah.
Giles now cannot read, but he finds a picture of Billy. Cordelia's hair has been utterly fucked up, and it's great. Her designer clothes have become horribly drab and nerdy, and she is physically forced to join the school chess team.
Yeah.
Buffy realizes that she has been seeing Billy at school while he is still in a coma. Giles theorizes that she might have been seeing Billy's astral projection. Buffy's father shows up and calmly tells her that she is at fault for her parents' divorce because she is such a difficult child and he can't stand being around her. He then scolds her for crying at his hurtful accusations and tells her that he never wants to see her again. The Scooby Gang quickly figures out that nightmares are becoming reality, including Xander's nightmare of being chased by a clown, Willow's nightmare of appearing on stage. Expected to perform a Italian opera. I don't know the words, though. Buffy finds Billy's astral body, and then both are found by the man who assaulted Laura. The nightmares plague anyone, and Buffy learns that Billy has experienced some form of punishment for poor baseball skills. They then evade the scary man and find themselves in the graveyard where the Master confronts Buffy and buries her alive. Meanwhile, Willow, Xander, and Giles find Buffy's grave. Giles explains that it is his worst nightmare to let Buffy die on his watch. Buffy then crawls out of the grave as a vampire, revealing her worst nightmare is dying and becoming a vampire herself. The gang decides that they must wake up Billy from his coma to stop the nightmares. In the hospital, they find Billy's astral body near his comatose body. As the ugly man finds him, Buffy confronts him. After knocking him out, she encourages Billy to face him. Billy wakes up and everything is back to normal. Billy's Kitty League coach shows up and refers to Billy as his Lucky 19. Buffy realizes that he must be the ugly man who put Billy in a coma after they lost the game. He tries to run after Buffy confronts him, but is stopped by Giles and Xander and arrested. The episode ends when Buffy and her father leave for the weekend together, their previous confrontation just an unreal nightmare. And that is the end of the episode.
So, is everyone aware of the nightmares they had, other than, the Scooby Gang?
Presumably no, because everybody would be in therapy.
I guess.
Well,
including Cordelia, especially.
Oh, Cordelia would be suicidal.
Yes.
I did what?
Oh,
My hair was how bad?
Well, I think it was kind of a case of, at the start at the very least, with the spiders first showing up, most people experienced that along with the person whose nightmare it was attached to. But then after that, I think it just kind of devolved into everyone fell into a whole nightmare dimension and were just experiencing all their nightmares simultaneously.
Yeah, my assumption is that the average student will just think it was a dream.
Yeah.
And then just be like, oh, it just was some crazy dream that I had. So Buffy at the beginning of the episode confronts the Master, but it's just a dream.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, okay. So,
whoa, spoiler show. Spoilers for what's going to happen at the end of the season.
Well, we're 2 episodes from the end of the season.
No.
They have to kind of start setting this shit up.
Yeah, somehow.
I suppose that's the way.
So then they're in class, and Wendell opens his book, and all the spiders come out, and I refer to it as Spider Book. Spider Book.
No, in my case, it was just like they were discussing about it, and the teacher says, "Please, Wendell, please turn to your book. Please turn to your pages of the book and whatnot." And then the spiders come out, and then spiders.
I love Willow because she's like terrified of spiders, and she's like, "What do they need all those legs for anyway?" That's just great. And then we find out we get our first reference to Lucky 19, which is what Laura tells them that the dude with the club arm said.
Yes.
And then I love they're in the library and Giles is talking about the astral projection and everything, and Buffy's like, asteroid body?
Astral. She doesn't know things.
Apparently not.
We find out that Giles now can't read, which is one of his nightmares.
Yeah.
And then we get the scene with Buffy and her dad.
Yes. Oh boy.
Which, okay, so up to this point, Sarah Michelle Gellar hasn't had to do a whole lot other than A, be angry, and B, be quippy. That's kind of all they've given Buffy in the first 10 episodes.
That as well as some stage fighting and other sorts of things.
Yeah, but it's angry or quippy are her basic emotions up to this point.
Yeah, well,
and now
that
let's
and
throw
typical...
in some despair and sadness.
Well, that and typical teenage girl and all those sorts of things.
Yeah, but it's not been exactly like the most emotionally demanding role.
No.
It's going to become an emotionally demanding role in coming seasons. But this is kind of like the first moment of like, oh, okay, she can do a more, like a broader range of things.
Man.
And it's just a really well done scene.
Let's just break your heart.
It's heartbreaking. Oh my god.
Well, yes. I sort of took it as the perspective of everyone is experiencing nightmares and she experiences all this. So it was just a case of, oh man, girl, stop beating yourself up with all of this.
So Giles, I think it's Giles who says that No Dreams would be like a musical comedy version of this. And I'm like, maybe we'll get something like that in a few years.
Oh dear.
Right.
It's because we will, Justin.
Probably because I've seen the episode.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I love Cordy's nightmare. It's just so good. She's trying to like fix her hair, like drastic. It's great. Then she gets dragged off into the chest room.
Yeah.
We see Xander following a path of chocolatey goodness, and I'm like, God damn it, Xander! Even you can't be this dumb.
But he gets chocolate bars.
He gets a chocolate hurricane.
Oh man, it's been ages since I've had this. Not since like
my 6th birthday party.
And then bring in the cloud
with a knife.
And then we get to see one of Willow's nightmares where she has to go on stage and perform an opera. And she doesn't know the words and can't sing.
The guy was decent enough.
It's just so good because she's just like,
Help.
It's so good.
And despite me sounding terrible for this, I kind of like the other opera singer doing his bit for how good he sounded, and just kind of like, girl, I cannot take your shit, do your job.
Interestingly enough, I don't know if this was intentional or not, but there's a little, if you actually translate what he sings, there's a hint in there about what's going to happen with Willow.
Oh, interesting.
Yes. Specifically, okay, so if you don't know what happens with Willow, just to skip ahead like a minute. I'm assuming everybody listening to this does, but... so, Willow's fate is eventually to become a witch. It's alluded during this episode. The aria that is sung to her can be read in English as, child from whose eyes the witchery is shining.
Oh.
So they're actually, like... Now, could be coincidence, but it could be really good foreshadowing. So, who knows?
Yeah.
It's just done in a different language to make it,
And trust me, this will not be the only time that they will foreshadow something that won't happen for 2 seasons.
Alrighty.
Anyway. Where were we? Oh, yes. We go to the graveyard.
Yes.
Where Buffy...
running away from
graveyard.
the club person, and out of all the particular ways of either running back through the door or trying to run past him, they go through the bushes. Magic teleportation sequence to the graveyard. Oh wow, we're definitely in the nightmare realm now.
Yes, and they run into the Master.
Yeah.
Who goes to attack Buffy, and he grabs her by the throat, and he gives her the world's weakest chokeslam.
Yeah.
Into the coffin. He just kind of pushes her. Like, god damn it. And then he does, like, start burying Buffy alive, which is, like, really legitimately creepy.
Yeah.
And then Xander, Willow, and Giles get chased by a murderous clown.
Until Xander gets tired of it and just
It
slugs
just
him
punches him in the face.
And because
You're a shitty clown.
And because he
Everyone
faces
can
fear,
make a giraffe.
He faces fear, and that's what stopped him, I guess.
Yay.
So then they all manage to get to the graveyard, and Giles sees Buffy's grave. And he has a really great... It's only about 30 seconds or so, but he has a really great monologue there. That he gives a really great performance in that little moment. And then Buffy comes back as a vampire, which is the only time we're going to see her in vampire makeup.
Huh.
That I can remember off the top of my head, at least.
Just because within the storyline, or more so that they can't actually have her in that sort of makeup for too long?
No, it's more that just it never happens. Like, we're going to see other characters in vamp makeup again.
No.
Like, we're going to see Willow and Xander get full, like, vampire makeup a couple of times. But I think, to my knowledge, this is the only time that we're gonna see Buffy. So Buffy beats down the ugly dude, and then Billy pulls off his face, and we snap back to reality. You all suck.
But
I don't want to make the joke, because they make it every time, that's all.
But thankfully, there is gravity.
And then at the end of the episode, Buffy's dad pulls up, they embrace, and the episode ends with Xander saying he'd still fuck vampire Buffy.
Yeah.
Which is fucking creepy.
Well, it's kind of a case of, you still would really like her, even if she was a vampire, would you, Xander?
That
it's like,
doesn't make it okay.
I am a sick man, Willow. It's like, don't I know?
Like, god damn it.
Xander's not really all that bright.
Xander.
He's just fucking annoying sometimes.
There was one interesting thing. A particular thing that crossed my mind from a previous episode were the couple particular things that Buffy, Xander, and Willow brought up that they were kind of concerned of, with Buffy not exactly being okay with having dummies around, Xander being afraid of mimes, and Willow with her stage fright. So, coming into this episode about nightmares and sort of getting the premise of it, I was kind of like, are they going to incorporate this from the previous episode? Sadly, they didn't for most of them. Aside from Willow, they definitely nailed that right on the head.
The stage fright.
Yes. Okay, so for music in this episode, It's just the original scoring that you would have in every episode.
And the opera.
Yeah, as well as that.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to try to pronounce this super long Italian opera name.
Are you sure? Because
that will not go well for anyone.
It'd be amazing.
No. So international titles. Unfortunately, there's nothing too crazy this time.
Well, it's just Nightmare. What more fancy thing can you do with it?
So a bunch of them just translate again as nightmares. French translates as Billy, which that's kind of dumb.
Yeah,
I guess
really say much about it.
Guess German has the best one again, but it's not super crazy like some of them are. So for German, it's the power of dreams.
Yeah.
Right.
It's fine, but it's not.
Well, again,
it's
they're
not super
technically
good.
Dreams; they're nightmares.
Yes, if these were dreams, we'd be a musical comedy version. Maybe in season 6. So, what did you all think of this episode?
I thought it was fairly interesting for everything that sort of came up. From hearing the little bits of discussion about it and sort of starting the episode off, I was kind of like, oh, okay, nightmares are going to come to life. What sort of craziness is going to happen? And then kind of the serious note kind of comes in with Billy and Lucky 19 and all that sort of stuff. And I was kind of like, what sort of method are they going to take to this? And just going on through the rest of the premise of the episode, getting those little glimpses onto everyone's fear within the Scooby Gang. It's just a bit more interesting to see, to sort of get them character development for everything.
Yeah, for sure. Justin?
Yeah. It's, I like seeing everyone's fears, for sure. What if the Master had a fear? What would his fear be?
Well, his fear would be like a happy place.
A happy place.
His fear would be like sunshine and crosses and unicorns and everybody being happy.
Oh yeah, okay, crosses for sure. I mean, he basically puts his hand on a cross
and
trying
starts
to face
burning
his fear.
himself.
Yeah.
That's not a fan.
Because of the burning thing, or because he's destroyed all the vampire lores?
But no, he isn't destroying it because he actually is harmed by it. I'm like, why would you do that?
I think he was kind of making a point.
Yeah, I know. He's trying to make a point about fear is a mental thing and you can overcome it. But
just like pain.
But no, this is a physical hurt. But wow.
Again, pain. If you know how to do it, you can definitely make pain not do certain things.
Yeah, I mean, I get the point of it. It's just, I'm like, I don't know. It just doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what did you all give this episode for a rating? Why don't we start with Justin?
I give it about a 7.5.
Okay, 7.5, David?
No, I think I'm probably going to have to be in about the same boat.
Okay. So for me, I'm probably going to go with about an 8 on this. This is probably one of the best episodes of the season. And it's really one of the, I think, it's maybe not necessary for the overall story of season 1. Because there's really only about 4 episodes that are.
No, that's understandable.
This would be one that I would recommend everybody to watch, though. If you're going to, because there's a lot of season 1 that you can just kind of skip through.
No, that's true.
This one I think is really important. It really helps set up the characters and everything and make
it definitely shows a lot of different character interactions, what they're like and what they actually fear. It kind of shows a good amount of that.
Yeah, I think as it is, it's kind of the big main topic. Sure, there's this big story and all this stuff's going on, but what are you going to care about it if you don't care about the characters?
Yeah.
And this story definitely helps out with that.
Yeah, for sure.
Alrighty, so next week we'll be talking about the episode Out of Sight, Out of Mind. In this episode, this is going to be good. Buffy must protect the thorn in her side, Cordelia.
Oh, okay.
When she becomes the target of an invisible former student who wants revenge for the way she was treated in the past.
Huh.
Buffy has to protect Cordelia.
Well, understandable. Cordelia is kind of part of the cast from the opening title. So aside from the couple little moments, I suppose you have to have an episode with her kind of being featured. But you also
center
kind
of the universe, Cordelia.
You dare
And she didn't deny it.
Oh, it's so good. Alrighty, so do either of you have anything left to add?
No, I think the only one thing that ran through my mind was out of all the particular fears that sort of ran through the episode, which one I thought was kind of the weakest out of all of them and to the strongest. One of the weaker ones that I sort of saw was only kind of zipped by fairly quick, but running through the hospital, they run by the doctor they spoke with earlier, who had an issue with his hands, where it didn't exactly look like there was anything wrong with his hands, but he probably didn't see that. So,
well, also, if you're a surgeon and you even, even if you, have, let's say, a minor muscle issue, you might not ever be able to do surgery again. Because you have to have such, perfect dexterity.
That's true.
That's just what I assumed it was he was having, something go wrong with his hands, and he's like, oh, shit.
Nah. As it was, I couldn't think of anything that was kind of to the greatest fear that they showed off from there, but I think with most everything, they kind of hit the nail on the head for just about all of them.
Yeah, no, I think I think Buffy and her dad is the best one. And in that, I think it's the most effective. Because, everything else, it's so it's Xander running away from a clown, which is, granted, it's funny, but it doesn't have the same emotional weight.
Yeah, true.
And, Willow's is pretty funny, because, she's just being pushed on stage, and it's kind of funny.
Nah.
Giles is the other one who gets, that really emotional, weighty scene.
Nah.
But I think that's about it for this week. I'm Paul.
I'm Dave.
And Justin.